Hello everybody and welcome back. It's been a while since we've taken a look at Bitcoin, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin here today. I'm also going to take a look at the S&P 500 a little bit later as well. But for now, for those of you who have been following me for quite some time, we've been basically stuck on two main ideas. One is that this is the cycle top, and the second is if this is the cycle bottom for cycle 2, or if we have another push down, essentially a companion leg for this first downside leg, something like this, where we would move our cycle 2 down here and move the bottom down here. So it's all revolving around those two main ideas. For the past few months, in the medium time frame, there have been a few counts that we've gone through. I'd say about 4 of them. 3 of them were leading to the upside. So there's a lot of directional wave degree confluence to the upside. We were having a potential flat pattern where this was an A, then we had a expanded B leg, and then a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a C leg. Yet once this got breached, this was invalidated immediately. So once that was taken off of the table, the only thing that was really left was either this was an A, or it's a wave 1, or it was a wave W. After some considerable price action, I've narrowed it down to basically 2 counts, which is the A or a wave 1. The wave W, it's still valid technically. I just think, and I've been saying this for quite some time now, I just think that if we were to consider this as a, let me go ahead and just bring it up actually. If we were to continue with the idea of this being a WXY, we'd have to look for some sort of pullback, because this would have to be an A leg right here. We were looking for some type of B leg and then some type of C leg. But what I've been echoing is that if we pretty much take this liquidity and if we really expand up into the 50s, we're probably going to have to look at this from a bullish perspective. With that being said, if we don't want to have a strong push up, we'd have to project a weak or moderate C leg. But given the strength of A, it's likely that if this was an A, B, C for a Y, it would have a lot of room to push up. And if it does push up into this area, once again, likely that we'd have to look at this more from a bullish perspective. So, although I'm not really looking at the WXY because of that perspective, it's still a valid count. So once again, that leads us back to basically full-on bearish or full-on bullish. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the bullish count here first. So essentially, once again, it revolves around this being a cycle degree, and then is this the bottom for the cycle degree 2. We've had our triple zigzag, we've impulsed up, Currently, I have this as a intermediate degree due to the time frame of completion for this. Then we have our flats for the wave 2. And now we're working on a minor degree wave 1. The only thing we have to really be weary of is basically this: the timing. If when we get that corrective wave 2 for the minor wave 2, and I'll break this down here more clearly in just a moment, but when we get that corrective pullback for the minor wave 2, we really want to see it, at least, if anything, a bounce off of the prior resistance. Once it starts to come down to these levels, it's going to be less likely that this is an impulse up. And once it takes this is complete invalidation at this point. Because at this point, this is no longer protected. This is expand way beyond what we considered it could be for a expanded B flat. So the only thing left would be A, B, C. So in order to maintain this bullish structure, we really don't want to see price invalidate these levels. And then from a timing perspective, when we get that corrective 2, we don't want it to exceed the correction of this intermediate wave 2. So we want it to be falling within here. If for some reason it corrects longer than that, what I would have to do is force a higher degree 1-2-1-2, which I've discussed this before, where we would have to upgrade this to a primary degree. And instead of a minor degree 2 and a minor degree 1, we'd have to upgrade it to intermediate degree. And this would be extremely bullish, meaning it's building a large 1-2-1-2 to continue up for quite some time. So that'll be extremely bullish. Breaking this leg down just a little bit further, there's two ways I can see this. It kind of just depends on how you view the structure from the beginning. So if you're viewing this as a 1 flat 2, then I really only see us making one more push up. If you're looking at this as a triple 1-2, meaning a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, I can see us making a few more highs, at least 2 more considered highs, 2 more major highs. When I look at this structure, when we look at the pullbacks, we always want to see some kind of similarity in time. That helps us understand where we are within the cycle and if wave 4 is finished or not. So if we take a look at the timing of this wave 2 and pretty much mirror it onto the wave 4 right here, albeit this wave 4 was just a little bit shorter, it still has the same structure, like the same strength towards this wave 2. So that's what leads me to believe that this minor wave 4 is completed on a minor degree, and we're working on the minor wave 5. Breaking it down just a little bit further, this looks like a mini 1-2-1-2 right here. So if that is the case, you can either put your 3, 4, 5 right here, Or if you wanted to, you can move it right here. It doesn't necessarily make sense in the short-term time frame, which we'll take a look later on. That's why I am opting to have my wave 3 pivot right here, and I'm looking for the minute wave 4 pullback. Something that is same time and strength as this minute wave 2 down here. So if I were to snag this, we pretty much want to see it have the same strength and time. It is exceeding it in time as of right now, and it's becoming complex, which we'll take a look at in just a few moments. But it to me is signaling that this isn't done yet, and that we actually are in a minute degree based off of how long this is taking to complete, and based off of the actual structure internally. If we're looking at it from a little bit more of a bullish perspective, that 1 2 1 2, these pivots get a little bit easier to count. These significant pivots, the higher highs and the higher lows, and the higher highs and the higher lows, they get easier to count out. I'll have to move this back over here for the same argument that we just discussed right there. But now it's just a matter of, once again, having 2 more major highs as opposed to just 1 more major high here. Target wise, we've got that major area of liquidity that I was just talking about, that 48,000 zone. There is a large monthly imbalance right here as well. And if we're looking for our trusty fib targets in comparison to Elliott wave theory, we have a 1-to-1 pretty much right there at the 50,000, large psychological zone, basically 50,000. And then based off of the way I use Elliott waves, there's pretty much a golden fib here for wave A. Larry Poll for wave A. So strong area right here. It'd be very interesting to see what happens at this point. Just for a little more, let's see. I think let's just go ahead and jump down to the short time frame. And the reason why is that because there's nothing really differentiating these 2 large accounts, the ABC and WXY. The only thing that's differentiating them in the short-term time frame is the wave degree. What degree you're looking at. Otherwise, the structure is the same. So what I mean by this is, for the bullish perspective, when we're looking at this, meaning this is a wave 2, and we are going to push up extremely hard, extremely strong. The only difference between this and the ABC is the degrees. Everything's pretty much the same thing that we're expecting in both counts. Either it's 1 more strong major high, or it's 2 more strong highs. Everything else is pretty much the same. Let's see. Let's go down to the 5. Now let's see the 15 minute. And let's see. So there's 2 ways I can see this. Let's take a look at the first way. And also I want to discuss the reasons why we can't have our wave 3 right here. Let me bring this up. Just hide that. There we go. Okay. So internally, once again, I've got the wave 3 pivot right here. Whether it's a minute wave 3 or a minuet wave 3, that's to be argued. It really depends on the timing of this at this point. Now, internally, if you wanted to try to put your wave 3 pivot over here, the only reason it doesn't make sense is because of how this is. It's a 3-wave move internally. It's not 5 waves at all. So with that being said, we've got a 3-wave move here and another 3-wave move again. Back-to-back 3-wave moves. There's only 3 things that can occur at this point. Either a flat, for a more simple perspective, it's either a flat or a triangle, or potentially, if you want to get more complex, it could be a WXY. Traditionally, we want to look at things more simple, because if we basically just jump right to the WXY and we get something more complex after that, we're pretty much placing ourselves in an Elliott wave corner. So you want to try to start with something that's more simple first. This is a pretty clear 3-wave move. This one is a tricky 3-wave move, but this is still a 3-wave move. Now it's about monitoring this leg. It doesn't look like a pretty impulsive C leg, and to me this is extremely stretched the way I have this. The reason why is because this looks like a clear 3-wave move right there as well. There's no way to get any good diagonal here. If this had come down just a little bit more, I could see this as a diagonal, but the strength was not there, did not breach this low at all. So the only way I can see this is really as a forced wave 1, super forced, wave 2, another wave 1, a wave 2, and now we have to do the cascading wave 3s and 4s. So due to kind of basically really forcing this, I mean, there's really no other way to get a clean impulse count here. The only way I can really see it is something like this, kind of nesting 1-2s here, shallow nesting 1-2s. Otherwise, it makes more sense actually that this is more of a triangle, and we're working on a complex C leg, which is kind of infamous for triangles. Usually the C legs are pretty complex. So once again, there's that clear 3-wave move I was looking at. We would pretty much leave this as a W, because as of right now I can see this as a running barrier triangle, where even A, it ran past the origin of A, and now we're contracting in a barrier triangle. So a running barrier triangle for wave X. Now we just want to see it push down for wave A, retrace for B, pretty much come right back up into prior supports, and then come down for wave C. Probably could be a little bit more sharper in nature if we bounce off the 786. It kind of depends on, I guess, what the market wants to do. You know, if it's something like this, I could see it extending longer in time, pretty much. Or if it wants to make a nice traditional triangle, it could just do this, where it bounces right off the 786, goes right to the upper trend line, or creates that trend line here for the B and D, and then we bounce right off of this trend line. So it just kind of depends on the strength of this C leg. Otherwise, man, I'd have to say let's get this little cleared up here. If we were to look at it complex, because once again these are simple patterns, and I said we could look at it complex if we want to. So if we were to look at it complex, it would have to be something like I might even go as far as to say is a truncated Y, which is getting crazy here. But I think this low will be protected. The only thing I don't like about looking at the WXY is the timing of it. Because if we try to just put our normal fibs on there, we're pretty much already at a 1-to-1 for W. We've already exceeded that. So if we were to look at this complex, meaning A, B, C, A, B, C. This is where it gets tricky at this point right here because of what I was just discussing. So not only does it get tricky from a timing perspective, it gets tricky from a structure perspective too. It would, I mean, yeah, you'd have to get extremely crazy. You'd have to wait for a diagonal to form here. Because the last thing you want to do is have a WXY within a WXY. So I think really, I mean, just even trying to flesh it out, it just doesn't make sense. So going back to originally what we had, makes more sense to look at this from a simple perspective, either a flat pattern or a triangle pattern. So we'll monitor the structure. We're monitoring the timing of it because currently, let's see where we're at now. Let's see. Let's extend this Sunday, Tuesday. We're about 5 days. Almost. Less or minus, or less 5 hours. But currently 5 days. Sometimes I will allow a minuet degree to go beyond a week. I'd say the maximum I'll allow minuet is about 2 weeks. Usually this is only in a correction, typically, which is what we are in right now. So I could see it where we would have to downgrade this wave 4 right here to a minuet wave 4, but currently I'm looking at it as a minute degree. So we'll continue monitor structure, timing, and we'll see what happens from here on out. I am kind of favoring more of this triangle, which is extremely tricky because once again we're only halfway through the C leg. We haven't even completed the C leg yet, so extremely tricky to have a bias towards a triangle. But due to the choppiness in here, this consolidation, it's a pretty clear triangle forming for me here, and the only way that could happen with this clear three-way move is a WXY. It only makes sense once again with a complex C and back-to-back ABCs, ABCs. The only thing that can occur once again is a triangle, a flat, or WXY, but right now it's favoring more the characteristics of a triangle. Really quickly, before I end the Bitcoin stream, I did see the comments. I know somebody requested Rune. I'm going to take a quick look at Rune for that person that requested it. So let's take a look here. There's really, this one's a little tricky for me. I mean, I can see it a few ways. I've got it as a primary wave 1 based off of the timing of the beginning to this all-time high. And now it's all about seeing this structure right here. So if we were to say that this is completed, where is that wave 2? There she is. If we were to say this is completed, this is kind of how I'm seeing it. An A into a B into a C. And we are working on an impulse leg. for a minor wave 1, just like with Bitcoin, mainly due to the timing of this. If needed, we could upgrade this to an intermediate degree, but that means we have to expect an extremely, extremely strong wave 3. I mean, it obviously that sounds kind of what crypto does, but I try to take things moderate first. Have some consideration first, moderation, instead of looking at things so aggressively. So currently, seeing this as a minor degree wave 1, then we'll look for that pullback for the 2, and then continuation up. If this isn't completed, there's 2 ways I can see it. The first way is a little bit, I'd say, forced in my opinion, because of the strength of this C leg right here. I have this as an A, a B, and a C. Internally, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 1 termination of it doesn't go past the 4. I have this as a expanded flat right here. And now it's about seeing this as a expanded flat right here. The only thing is that it's an extremely strong C leg, and I still don't even see it done. I can still see one more pullback and then another push up. It is right pretty much within the golden pocket though, so it is in a area where it's testing considerably. It breached it and then came up and tested it again, and it's having some good pullbacks there. It might come back for it one more time and then come down. But once again, this is extremely strong C leg for an expanded flat. The other way I can see this, I think this is more forced. I actually like the internal C right here because we've got a sharp 2 and then a shallow triangle 4. The only thing I don't like about this is the same exact reason that I discussed with Bitcoin, is that if we have a pullback, no matter how small or strong, for a B leg, once we had that pullback, if we're still looking at this as a B and we have yet to complete a C, we either had to project like once again a weak or moderate C, but traditionally it's most likely to be similar to A right here, meaning it's going to have some type of similarity in strength. And if it comes up this high and obviously takes this high, we're going to have to look at this more of like a bullish perspective. Otherwise, I'd probably say this is 20% or 30% probability, same with Bitcoin, is that this is a flat. So it just depends. Just like with Bitcoin and pretty much the S&P, which we'll go over here later, it really is truly 50-50 right now. Both of crypto and the U.S. traditional markets are pretty much at 50-50 at this point. I would say it's leaning more towards a bullish narrative actually. So I would say, lightly, I'd say it's 60% bullish and 40% bearish. That's where I would put it. But it really kind of depends on the Fed right now at this point, in my opinion. And I don't like being so fundamentally driven, but taking a look at things from a macroeconomic perspective and geopolitically, you know, I I think everybody is basically counting on the Fed to count or to reduce rates in early next year, early of spring, which I mean that's extremely early. And I know the Fed has said they're pretty much data dependent, and there's been a lot of good data coming in suggesting that inflation has been tamed. And the market is basically calling the Fed's bluff when it says it's going to hold rates or hike additional rates. So I mean, the only way that the Fed is going to have some credibility moving forward is if it literally holds rates until at least the second half of next year, or until it literally gets inflation under or at 2% for a few months, which means that's a greater case for the bears, meaning it's more pain for longer. Because obviously the market's trying to price in the rate hikes are done, we've already hit the ceiling, and now we're gonna reduce the rates, and markets are going to start climbing. Markets are pretty much pricing it in. So I mean, they're basically kind of laughing in the Fed's face at this point, in my opinion. So the only way the Fed's going to have some credibility, which gives the bears some case, is that the Fed either increases rates one more time or just holds it longer for more pain. So that's what's going to give this scenario more strength, this A, B, C. But we really can't discount the bullish perspective, because this is very, very strong impulsive leg that we're experiencing at this time. Although we were pretty much once again aware of this and we were looking for this, the strength that this has had is abnormal. It's strong. It's very, very strong. Light pullbacks, and every time it's gone up, it's made a new high. So higher high, and then a higher low. Higher high, higher low. Higher high, higher low. Higher high, higher low. Higher high, higher low. It just keeps going on and on and on. So it's got nice strength. It's honestly signaling to me more of a bullish perspective. So we'll see how things develop here. I'll continue to update accordingly, and I'll see you guys for the S&P stream. But thanks for joining. I hope everyone has a great day, and if you ever have any questions, like I said, I'm always accessible publicly or privately. Just feel free to message me, and I'll try to get back as soon as possible. But thanks for your time, and have a good day.